Hey y'all, welcome back to another Monster High ranking video. Today we're going to be ranking all of the Gen 1 and Gen 2 Monster High lines, like not each individual doll, but the line as a whole. And we're going to do it just based on my feelings. So to kind of explain what I mean by that, I've done a lot of Monster High ranking videos. I've talked about each individual Gen 1 and Gen 2 doll. I've talked about a lot of the Gen 3 dolls as well. I do a lot of Monster High ranking, but I got the idea a while ago that it would be fun to do a ranking of the lines like as a whole, so not looking at like each individual Freak to Chic doll, but where would I rank the whole line and like compare it to other ones. And then I thought it would be even more fun if I did this twice, because like, why not create extra work for myself? But this first time for today's video, I'm going to just look at the dolls and use like my feelings about each individual one and like the line as a whole to rank the line. And then the next video that I do, not like literally the next one because I don't want to be super repetitive, but I'm going to do a part 2 to this video where I do the exact same thing. I rank all of the exact same lines, except I'm going to do it mathematically where I give each doll a score and then it like has a total percentage score based on the averages. It's going to be a whole thing. I'll explain it more in the mathematical video because you don't have to worry about it now. But basically, I just thought it would be fun to do kind of a two-parter so that I could see the difference and how I would rank the Monster High lines if I was ranking them like just using my emotions and my feelings versus if I kind of applied a bit more of a like analytical approach to it. I don't know why I decided to do this. Hopefully it will be fun, but if that whole idea doesn't sound interesting to you, this one will be like a pretty normal ranking video where I just talk about my feelings. So keyword there, this is just my opinion. If you guys disagree, y'all know the drill. It's not a big deal and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you do find yourself enjoying the video, if you could give it a like, that's super helpful to me. If you're new here and you enjoy your time, definitely subscribe so you can see more. And if you want to go out of your way to support me, I've got links and stuff in the description. But I feel like that was a lot of rambling and trying to like explain the premise here. For today's video, you don't have to worry too much about it. It's just going to be a normal ranking video. So let's get into that. Okay, so as usual, I am going to be using Procreate to do the ranking. The tiers are a little bit different because when I do end up doing the more mathematical ranking, I wanted to be able to have it kind of be easy. So I'm actually using the American grading system as the tiers. So it goes from A+ to A, B, C, D, and then F. Yeah, it's a little bit strange for this one, but it's gonna make it a lot easier when I do the next one and like make it easier to compare the two. So that's what we were going with. I will say not every single Gen 1 doll had like a proper line. Like some of them were just random releases. So not every single doll is going to be in here. I'm not including stuff like fashion packs or any play sets that came with these lines. And quite frankly, I might have missed some, okay? Because if you look at this, I like individually crafted each image to make sure that every doll from the line was in there. I'm only a person, and so I very well might have missed some. If that is the case, I'm sorry, it's not intentional, but I'm not going to go back and change it at this point. We also have a lot of lines to get through, I think like 74, so I am going to try to be fairly quick here so that I can hopefully keep y'all entertained, but not just drone on and on and on and on and on. Anyway, I feel like I'm doing that right now. Starting off with the Coffin Bean lineup. I feel like I used to like this line more than I do currently, because, you know, emotions change over time. I feel like Twyla looks cute. Venus is a standout to me, but Venus is pretty frequently a standout to me. I used to love the Toralei, but I don't love her as much anymore. I feel uninspired and mostly unenthused by this line, and also I might be kind of harsh this time if I'm being 100%. Sorry, I was on the wrong layer and it distracted me. But we're just going to be harsh. I'm going to give this a C tier. We're starting off strong. Next up we have the Classroom line, and I'm not particularly a fan of honestly any of these. They're very thematic, which like I'm sure is fun for some people. It's just not something I super love. I do think this Frankie is one of the better Frankies, but otherwise I'm not feeling it. D tier. Then we have Brand Boost Students, which I do definitely like more. I think Kirsty Trollston is a really interesting doll. I love Batsy. I still have her and I still want to redress her. I have too many things going on and I never have time. I've talked a lot before about the fact that different people from different Native American tribes or even just different Native Americans in general feel differently about her. I don't really feel like I can weigh in on that. Overall, though, I do think this was a cool line. I think that the inspirations are interesting, and I feel like it could have been a lot worse. We're going to go with B tier, I think. Then we have Boo York. And, you know, I feel like Boo York is a decently celebrated line within Monster High. I feel like people really love it. I just don't feel that strongly about it. I will say the Cleo and Deuce, some of the best dolls ever for Monster High. I think those are absolutely amazing. But most of the other ones are completely unremarkable to me. Not necessarily bad, but just not super exciting. I will say the line feels pretty cohesive. Like, I feel like all of these dolls make sense all in the same image. Like, they all work together. I think I'm going to give this a B tier as well. Which probably doesn't make sense because I feel like I was talking pretty negatively about it, but that's fine. Then we have the basic line, which, I mean, the lack of articulation is what immediately stands out to me, and maybe I should be basing this more on the designs, but it's really hard not to like think about the loss of articulation when you've had it. I talked about this a little bit in the Rainbow High reboot video I did, where if you have a line that starts out without articulation or super detailed clothing, I feel like it isn't as bothersome than when you see a line that used to have that lose it, and that's what happened with Monster High here. Honestly, these are pretty uninspired fashions to me. There's definitely a lot of quality lacking. I'm gonna put them into F tier. I'm just gonna do it. We're being harsh today. I don't feel like being friendly. Then we have the ballerina ghouls, which not super. G3 is actually doing a ballet-themed line for Skulltimate Secrets, and we have gotten leaks of those on Instagram. You can't see them in like intense amounts of detail, but they definitely look better than this, and I think that just goes to show that Monster High can do a ballet line that doesn't look as garbage as this one does. Sorry if you're a fan, I just am absolutely not. This is an F tier. Then we have art class, which I love the idea for. I like to think of myself as a decently artsy person, I guess you would say. So I like the idea of art class as a line. I think it's cool that all of the dolls got like different art things that they did. Why did I say it like that? Like Abby does ice sculptures and Dracula paints, and I think that Skeleta did sculpture, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's really fun that it's like all different things for the different characters. I'm not 100% obsessed with the designs, but I love the concept so much I think I'm actually going to pop this into A tier. Next up is 13 Wishes, and this one's an interesting one because I kind of feel the opposite as I did about Coffin Bean. I think over time I have grown to like this line a little bit more, even though I really like had some issues with the movie. Twyla's still not my favorite, but like she's fine. I think the Cleo's cute. A lot of these dolls have some good merit. I'm trying not to let my thoughts on the movie color my thoughts on the dolls. I think we're going to go with B tier. I think that seems fair. Freaky Field Trip is a line that I used to be a big defender of, and I still do think it's cool, especially for like a realistically extremely simple line given what we can get from Monster High. I do think Claudine, I'm sorry, is the weak link here. I just don't think she's as interesting as the others. I love when Toralei gets pops of teal. I think it looks so good with her color scheme, and I think Gigi is adorable. The concept is cool. I honestly wish that they had like done more with this, just because I am kind of a nerd sometimes and I love museums and stuff like that, and so I think it would have been cool if this was a more fully fleshed out line. I think because it's more simple, I'm going to put it in B tier, but it honestly had the potential to be much higher if it had just like been given a little bit more, you know?
Hello, editing me here. If you've seen some of my ranking videos lately, you know I've been having some technical trouble with like the video lagging and like not lining up properly. And of course it's happening again. So I'm just gonna be popping in pictures whenever I have to like make it work. I am sorry this keeps happening. Like I'm trying to do a few different things behind the scenes to like make it not happen. So far, no luck though. So I'm just trying my best here. Please do enjoy.
Ooh, Freak de Chic. If you guys have seen, like, honestly, any of my videos where I talk about Gen 1 of Monster High, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love Freak de Chic. I didn't include the SDCC Draculaura because, like, I really am trying to just include the original run of Monster High. But I think this was a stupendous line. My one complaint, and I hear people all the time, like, defending it and, like, trying to explain away why Claudine is gray. I still think it's weird. I feel like it's a kind of a form of whitewashing and it makes me uncomfortable. That being said, everything else is so amazing, and I'm being so hard on these lines that I feel like I have to have at least one that I'm nice to, and I'm going to give this one an A+, with the big caveat that, if we're getting in the mathematical side for a second, it would be like a 98 A+, not 100 A+, because of Claudine. Not because of her design, but because I think it's weird that she got whitewashed. Anyway, Fierce Rockers. I feel like I like this line more than a lot of other people who are fans of Gen 1 Monster High. I'm obsessed with the Caddy. I think she's absolutely amazing. Toralei is also really cool. Claudine and Gina Fire are looking good. I do think Venus, sadly, even though I love her, is like probably the most unexciting one out of all of them, because I think she needed a jacket or something, just some sort of layer there. But this is a really fun line to me, and I'm going to put it in A tier. We have Fear Leading. I feel like this might be unpopular because I don't know, like I feel like other people tend to enjoy cheer dolls more than I do, and especially within Monster High, I think other people enjoy the Monster High cheer dolls significantly more than I do. The only thing that's preventing them from being an F tier is that I feel like there is a market for this and people did like it, and like for what it is, I guess it's cute. I just don't care for it, and it's D tier to me. Fantastic Fitness. Not super. I mean, yeah, there's not really anything else I can say. They're not necessarily outright the most horrific dolls, but to me they just look like uncared for. It doesn't look like a lot of effort was put into these, and I'm popping them into F tier. Then we have the emoji line. Not a fan of. I will say I do like the cut of Claudine's dress. I think that's like a really fun silhouette for her. Even with the baseball cap, I think could be executed well. But it's going into F tier. Electrified. This one hurts so much in hindsight because I remember when this came out and like looking at the toy store shelves because I'm like, oh, what's new in Monster High? And it was this. And I remember thinking, okay, I don't really like this line. I guess I'll just wait until the next one and I'll like the next one better. But Electrified definitely felt like the beginning of the end, and at least for me it did. And I remember that afterwards, I never really felt super great about a line ever again. Like I never came across dolls organically in store that I was like, wow, I'm so excited about this Monster High doll after Electrified, which is so heartbreaking. I don't think this is a good line regardless of that. Like, I just don't think it's executed super well. But especially with that, like, emotional upheaval that this reminds me of, it has to be F tier. Dot Dead Gorgeous. What a random line. It's not ugly, but it's just so funny to me because it's like, who came up with this? Abby's my favorite by far. I think she's precious in this line. She's looking mad cute. I love me a good Spectra, especially when they kept her hair this kind of more muted color. I think that looks a lot better for her. Definitely not astounding, but not terrible. We're going to pop it into B tier. Dessert. I say pretty frequently on the channel here that I'm not typically a fan of sweets-themed dolls. Like, a doll has to be really exemplary for me to be interested in it if that's kind of the theming. Dessert is by far the worst one of, Gen 1 and Gen 2's Monster High dessert-themed lines. Not cute. F tier. Then we have Dead Tired. I think this is going to be really controversial. I say this also a lot, especially in my ranking videos. I'm also not a fan of pajama dolls very often. Like, they just really don't speak to me. I know other people love this lineup. Like, I understand why people like it, but I just don't get it. I did used to have the Laguna in her hydration station. That was a fun little gimmick. Because I think these are well designed, I'm going to give it C tier. It doesn't connect with me, but I don't think the dolls themselves are bad. Okay, that brings us to Day to Night. And I don't like the Frankie. Sorry, not a surprise. I think the Draculaura could be worse, but like, she's still not super D tier. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. I really am sorry if it feels like I'm like rushing through this, but there's so many to get through, so I like have to be kind of quick. So we're on Dance Class. I think Rochelle is the standout here. The other ones are frankly quite mediocre. We're going to give it a quick C tier. Don't even have to like think about it. That's a C tier. Next up is Creepateria. Honestly, I feel like these dolls just don't vibe for me. I like Howlene's hair blend here, but I don't like her outfit. Draculaura is forgettable. I think I could like the colors on Cleo in a different setting. D tier. I have to be quick and I have to be ruthless. Comic book. I'm not even going to explain this. It's F tier. I feel kind of bad that I'm putting so many in F tier, but like, here we are. Killer Style. I don't love her hair, but I think otherwise Operetta is maybe my favorite here. Mostly I just feel extremely mid about these dolls. Mid to low, but I'm going to be nice and say C tier. I don't know why I'm being nice with this one and mean with all the others, but here we are. I heart shoes. I love this Draculaura. I think she's absolutely gorgeous. I think the silhouette is so fun on her. Her little capelet, phenomenal. The Cleo, every single time I see her, I think this handbag is part of her hair, and it takes me a second. After I realize that that is not the case, I do think she's cute. A tier. Okay, I heart fashion. This was a solid line. This was a good line for Monster High. I think that Venus stand out. The Cleo's also really good. There's some good ones here. I definitely don't like each one individually. Like, I don't want all of these dolls. But I feel like this was a really fun line to the point where I'm going to put it in A tier. How do you boo? This was a really, really big line. I actually didn't even include all of the dolls because I think there's 3 other characters that look exactly like this middle Laguna here, but obviously they're different characters. There's like Frankie, I think Frankie, definitely Draculaura and Claudine that all have that molded on top and horrific skirt. And I just didn't even bother putting them on here because, like, what's the point? They're all terrible. Yeah. There's a couple that are less awful than others, but as a whole, this is going to be a solid F tier. Haunted is a line that I feel like I have grown to love more over the years. It used to be that I really only liked Vandala and River and kind of Porter. As time has gone on, I'm like, I think Kiyomi's super cute as well. I love the Rochelle. Spectre could be worse. Again, Claudine has like the lighter skin tone, and I think it's weird. I feel so conflicted because I want to put this one in A+ too, because I genuinely think that these are really fun designs, but also I feel like it goes against everything that I stand for to put both lines where I feel like Claudine was whitewashed into A+. And it does bother me. Like, it feels disingenuous of me. I think I'm gonna do it just with the same caveat, because I don't think in a line where I'm in a video where I'm trying to rank the line as a whole, I don't feel like it's fair to like I don't want to discredit how cool like the Rochelle and the River and everyone is, and even like Claudine's outfit is cool. I'm gonna put it in A+ with the same caveat I gave before. Like, I do think it's wrong, and I think that's gonna come up a lot more in the mathematical one. But, you know, it is what it is. It also kind of feels like punishing Claudine, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like if I rank the line poorly because of her doll, I feel like I'm ranking her doll poorly. And I think I even did that when I did my Claudine ranking video. But now I'm like, it's not her fault that whoever ended up designing that particular doll made that choice, you know? Like, it's not Claudine's fault she's being given this treatment. Does that make sense? Am I overthinking this? We have to move on. Anyway. Great Scary Reef. Super. We get to talk about Claudine and her skin tone again. Because I'm sorry, but why is she the only one who has a skin tone change? Draculaura is still pink. Frankie is still green. Toralei is still orange. But they made Claudine purple because, God forbid, she has brown skin. I'm sorry, it bothers me so much. This one's not going to go in A+, though. I think the concept for this line was incredible. I love mermaids, so I wanted to love everything about this line, and I just don't think that it was executed to the best of its ability. It's going to go into C tier, which is really sad to me, because I wanted to love it, but yeah. Gorgeous accessories. I think the Rebecca could use a little bit more excitement, especially because this is like the Gorgeous Accessories line, and I know she came with other stuff, but that is just her normal bag. Like, that's her core dolls bag. I'm pretty sure that's the exact one. Yeah, that's the exact same one. However, Honey Swamp looks gorgeous, so we're gonna average that out. I'm gonna call it a B tier. I'm gonna give the extra accessories not pictured the benefit of the doubt and say that they'd raise it up a little bit. Gloom Beach. Typically not a huge fan of swim dolls, much like Pajama and that sort of thing. They just don't like super work for me. But like, these are pretty okay, pretty solid. I'm gonna give it a B tier. Gloom and Bloom was a good line. I love the Cleo, love the Genifire. Even the Katrine is quite beautiful. And of course, Amanita. Not as obsessed with Jane or Venus, but like, This was still a good line, and I'm going to give it credit where credit is due. It's going to go into A tier. I still have so many to go. I feel like I'm taking forever. Ghouls Get Away. I've said this before, this line had no reason to go as hard as it did. Would love it more if Spectra wasn't given this pinky hair color, because I just really didn't like when they gave Spectra her more pinky hair color. Elizabeth slaps. Can never remember if it's Meowity or Persephone. the Werecat slaps. Jane looks good. This is a solid line for absolutely no reason. I'm on the wrong layer again, but it's going to go into A tier. Ghouls Rule. Didn't love it when it first came out, which is so funny because like this was just leaving shelves, I think, by the time that I started getting into Monster High, or like at least in my area. I didn't see it on shelves too often, but I did see these dolls in person and I wasn't interested, and now I'm like, I really want this Claudine, and I do think the other dolls are interesting. I wouldn't buy any of the other dolls, but I do think the designs are really fun. I'm going to go ahead and put it into A tier, which is funny because much like 13 Wishes, it is continuing the trend of the dolls being better than the movie to me. Ghouls Night Out. I don't like almost any of these. I think probably Claudine is my favorite. It's very simple for her, but I think probably that's my favorite. Hate what they did to Spectra's hair color here. I've talked about this a lot before. I just think most of these are unremarkable. I'm going to put it in D tier. Ghouls Beast Pet. You guys know me. What do we think I'm going to say? It's all about this little dude. It's all about him. And by extension, about Cleo. But I can't let my love for the cat get in the way of the fact that the other dolls could be a lot better. They could be worse, but they could be a lot better. So as much as it pains me to put anything cat-related in D tier, I'm going to do it, because I know that's the right answer. Ghoul Sports. I'm not a sporty person. I do think Claudine looks pretty cool, but I'm not a sporty person. D tier. Ghoul Spirits. Don't like this line. I just don't feel like it did anything that I enjoy, so it's going in F tier. Ghoul Fair. Kind of similar. Has like a nice premise, could be interesting, didn't work out for me, but I don't think it's quite as bad as the last one. We're going to put it in D tier. Ghostly Tea Party. I just don't know. I like Ari's hair because I think it's very like interesting. I think it's a good vibe. It's cool. It's different. But I don't know about the outfit. The teacup shoes are pretty cool though. I like Laguna's silhouette. Because again, I think it's interesting, but I don't like it for Laguna necessarily. I think if Claudine were a different character, I wouldn't mind this, but this just doesn't feel like Claudine. I'm going to go C tier, which is probably unpopular, but I think there's some interesting elements to that. Geek Shriek, perpetuating the stereotype that everyone who has glasses is a nerd and all nerds have glasses. I understand I am a nerd who has glasses, so like, maybe I'm not the best one to speak on that, but it's just a weird premise. Like, I just think this is a bizarre thing to do. I don't get it, and I don't think that the dolls are super either, and I'm going to put it in F tier. Garden Cools hurts my heart, because I want this to be so cool, and I just don't feel like it lives up to it. I think that if this were a line that had come out earlier in Monster High's run, this could have been absolutely phenomenal. Teresa should have been so much more than she is. I love the idea of all of the ghouls becoming fairies, because, like mermaids, I'm obsessed with fairies, and I love the wings, but I just don't think that this really lives up to where it should be. However, I'm a sucker for fairies. And I do think it, honestly, aside from Teresa, who doesn't look good, I think it's a little better than Great Scary Reef, so I'm going to put it in B. Frights Camera Action. I think all of the existing characters, frankly, look a bit boring, except for Operetta. She looks pretty cool. The new characters, fantastic. Like, they're so good, so it's hard to balance this out. I think I'm going to give it an A tier. I think Operetta and the characters that, like, previously hadn't gotten dolls really bump it up for me. Freaky Fusion. Wow. What an amalgamation. I don't even remember what line I was talking about earlier, but I said before, I think it was Boo York, that they all look right together. Like, I feel like they look like a cohesive line. You can kind of tell that they all work together, This does not feel this way. Like, there were a few sublines, I guess you would say, within the Freaky Fusion release, and I feel like you can tell which characters belong to which different sublines, just because they're so vastly different. You've got, like, the weird Save Frankie thing with Draculaura and Claudine. You've got, like, the fusions, and then the people dressing up as, like, fake fusions, and then, like, the what I can only describe as like biracial monsters. It's bizarre. I think Cyrena is a huge standout here. She's a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. We love her here. Oh gosh. I have to put it in D tier, even though I don't want to hurt Cyrena in that way. And I mean, Bonita Femur is also pretty cool, but all the other ones, really big yikes. Ghouls Alive, essentially just signature dolls, only almost every single one is less cool than the signature doll because they had to like cheapen some things to make the gimmick happen, and I almost never think it was worth it. Probably Rebecca is like the best executed one of these. Spectra could look worse, but I just don't think this was necessary, and I'm putting it in F tier. Zombie Shake, this was a good one. In fact, we're going to pop it right up to A+. I just think these dolls are so fun. There's a lot of details. This was a solid lineup from them. Welcome to Monster High, another one where there were a lot of dolls kind of all thrown at this title for some reason, and a lot of like other sub-lines as well. I do have the Cleo. She's behind me on the shelf over here, but I did repaint her face. Yeah. I'm rating all my emotions, okay? Like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing this video, is not thinking about, oh, well, this is still quality. Like, I'm rating all my emotions, and my heart sinks when I see this picture, so it's going into F tier. Transforming Ghouls. Nope. F tier. F tier is getting pretty full. Gonna Get Fuller swimsuit, the worst swimsuit line from Monster High, so we're just gonna put that in a second row of F tier. Swim Class, however, to me, the best swim line for Monster High. Also, Monster had a weird amount of swim lines. Like, they had so many beach and swimsuit themed dolls, which is just kind of strange to me, but this is by far the best in my opinion. I don't like every individual doll, but I think that the concepts behind them are really fun and interesting. This is going to go up to A tier. Sweet Screams. Longtime viewers will have heard me say before, I understand Sweet Screams is amazing. Like, I get that. I get that this is like the gold standard for Sweets themed dolls. But I'm not someone who likes Sweets themed dolls. So, like, where does that leave me? What am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to rank this? In a ranking based on my emotions? When I know it should be A+, but I don't believe it's an A+. This is so tricky. I think I'm going to go with B tier. I think that's the highest that I can personally decide to put it, and I know that's going to like be unpopular, but I just can't do anything else. Sweet 1600. Yeah. Cupid is by far, to me, the best thing about this line. Definitely not horrific. I think I'm going to put this in B tier as well. Because, like, there are a lot of elements that I like. I think it's just, like, the overall thing is kind of bringing me down. I don't know. Sleepover. The worst version, I think, of any pajama-themed lines for Monster High. F tier. Skulltimate Roller Maze. Another line that I feel like I should have loved as someone who likes roller skating. I think that there was a lot of room to do really interesting and creative things with this line, and like that just didn't super happen. I did think this movie, like the movie that went along with this, was decent. It was not like the worst Monster High movie that I've seen. And I remember in the review praising the fact that it was the idea that the characters could wear what they want and look fashionable and have fun with their outfits and also be good at sports. Like, those two don't have to be mutually exclusive concepts. And I still stand by that. I also just, like, wish that at least one of them had decided to wear shorts, you know? Like, cute shorts. Or even cute pants. But, like, shorts or pants. Because I personally would not feel comfortable skating in a miniskirt. But maybe that's just me. D tier, I'm sorry.
You know that clip where it's like this little kid and he's like, I'm tired of this, grandpa. And then the grandpa's like, that's too damn bad. That's how I feel about the fact that almost none of my footage this time worked. Like, I'm so irritated.
Skull Shores, another swim themed one. I think Cleo is cool. She's interesting. Claudina's cool. I feel kind of mid about the rest. Where did I put Gloom Beach? B tier. I think that feels right for Skull Shores as well. All right, we're getting into some of the signatures. This was wave 4. I'm very sorry. I don't care much for Jackson's doll. However, Rebecca, Venus, and Rochelle are all dolls that I have featured on my shelf back here, so you know I love those. I'm going to go ahead and put this in A+, because even with Jackson, I think this was such a good signature line with the other 3 that we got. It was very impressive to me. Then we have wave 3. I also love a lot of these. I think this operetta is pretty sick. Nephra, a doll that a lot of people love, myself included. Obviously the werecats. I love cats. Like, who is surprised? Literally no one. I don't think it's quite as good as wave 4. I'm going to put it into A tier though. I think the signature lines are really solid. Wave 2. I just said I think the signature lines are really solid. And I can't take that away from this one either. We've got Abby, we've got Spectra, this Claudine I have grown to love more and more literally every time I see her. This Draculaura, absolutely gorgeous. Not as enthused about the others, but I still think I'm going to pop this into A tier. Which is actually crazy that my favorite Monster High doll of all time, Spectra. I mean, it is for sentimental reasons. But the fact that Spectra doesn't even make it into A+ is a little sad to me. I feel guilty, but I'm standing by my choices. Wave 1, honestly, when you compare it to some of the other signature lines, obviously it's iconic because this was the first Monster High line. This is history. But I don't think it's as strong as some of the other ones. Obsessed with Laguna. I'm so grateful that I managed to get the reproduction for her. Same with Draculaura. I do like Cleo. We're going to put it in an A tier. The sheer nostalgia of it, even though I wasn't actively collecting at that time, I just can't deny it. Shriek Wrecked. Great line. Even though it was a Gen 2 situation. Great line. Laguna, still would love to have. It's funny because I don't like each individual doll almost at all. I don't particularly like Caddy. I don't particularly like Claudine. I don't think Calliope looks the best with this hair. But for some reason, the whole shebang works. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That's how I feel with Shriek Wrecked. Even though I think that Laguna is by far the standout, the whole line just does something to me. I don't understand it. We're going to put it in B tier, because I don't want to get too crazy here, but shockingly good. Sweet Screams. Cleo looks a mess. Amanita could be better. Nephra, not terrible, but still could be better. C tier. Scarnival. I don't feel like this is super. Definitely Scalita looks the best out of these. I'm still going to put it in F tier. I just don't think this looks good. School Spirit. Weirdly, I think this Frankie's cute. However, this peanut butter and jelly nonsense will disgust me until the end of time. This is an F tier. Scaritage. Not necessarily my favorite dolls, but I don't think that they're bad. We're going to pop this into B tier. Scaris. This is so similar to, I'm forgetting all of the lines. Fright's Camera Action, where I love the new characters dolls. The other ones are kind of underwhelming. Where did I put Fright's Camera Action? Put it in A tier. I think we're going to do the same for Scaris, because, those were some solid dolls. I feel like this video is going on so long, and I'm so sorry. I hope y'all are having fun. We're getting there. There were just so many lines. We're starting off with the good one, though. Scarily Ever After. I think this is one of the best Monster High lines. I think this was such an innovative, thing to do. I think it was so fun and interesting, and the designs were absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely A+. I hated that I just said absolutely, twice in a row, but anyway. Power Ghouls. Not really for me. D tier. I'm not going to explain myself. Picture Day. I want to like this significantly more than I actually do. C tier. Party Ghouls. I don't think that Rochelle looks as good as she deserves, but she still could be worse, and the same goes for the other two. Honestly, B tier, which feels crazy, but that's where I'm putting it. And we get another row of B tier. New Scaremester. Again, I want to like it more than I do, and I just feel like I don't, so I'm going to put it in C tier. Music Fest. I used to have the Venus and the Abby. I got distracted for a second because this was like, for some reason, the image that I used for Abby, and she's just... Sorry. I think I still have their bodies somewhere, like, for customization purposes, so that I can use them as a base. But the line goes in D tier, I'm sorry. Music Fest is such an interesting concept, and they just did absolutely nothing with it. Music Class. Very difficult, because this Cleo, wow, one of the best Cleos ever, even with the missing arm articulation, which is crazy to say. Ari's, you know, whatever. I gotta go with B tier, I'm sorry. I feel kind of bad for Cleo, but that just feels right. Monster Exchange. I do like Lorna, and I do like Marisol. I almost forgot her name. The others I'm kind of meh about. But it's a fun concept. I'm going to go ahead and give it A tier. Which is a second layer for A tier. Woohoo! Lots of looks. Absolutely not. Look less, please. F tier. Okay, we're at the end. We've reached the end. Dawn of the Dance. Y'all know how I feel about Dawn of the Dance Laguna. Phenomenal. I have Dawn of the Dance Claudine, and she's also amazing. The other ones don't necessarily speak to me personally, but I do think this is a super solid line, and I'm going to put it in A tier. And that brings us to the end. The end of my efforts here. This is interesting to look at. And the first thing that comes to mind is that, because I said in the beginning of the video, I've done a lot of Monster High ranking videos. Like, this is not a new concept for me. I kind of just do different types of Monster High ranking because there's a lot of Monster High stuff. And I will get comments sometimes, especially on like my shorts or on my TikTok, because y'all are pretty nice here in the long form content. But I'll get comments of people being like, you say you're a Monster High fan and you ranked this so poorly. Like, what do you even like? And that's the first thing that I think when I see this, because F tier is the fullest tier. We have the fewest number of lines in A tier, or A plus tier, sorry. And I get where that's coming from. Like, I get where if you look at this, you're like, why do you even call yourself a Monster High fan? Because you rank so many lines so badly. But for me, it's just that the ones that are so good are so beyond good, like, so much more than just good, and the concept behind the line is really fun and like interesting, and I just think it's fascinating that like this is how the ranking looks, I guess, and I'm sitting here being like a huge Monster High stan. I've got all the dolls behind me. They were the thing that got me into doll collecting, and yet this is how I rank. But this is just how I feel, and this is just me being honest. So this is how this is looking. I will obviously save a picture, but keep this in mind because, as I said, we're going to be doing a part 2 where I rank these in like a mathematical sense and give them like a percentage grade that will then fit into one of the American grading categories. And I'm really, really curious to see how that will switch up the like overall distribution of lines, like, because it's got to be different, right? Like, there's no way this is all exactly the same. I'm just super curious to see how different that is. But that's it for now. So yes, guys, that is it for today. I feel like I've been filming and talking for a long time. I hope this video wasn't too long or too much to get through for you guys. Hopefully it was fun for you to kind of do this with me and go on another Monster High ranking journey. Definitely let me know kind of what your highlights are as far as lines and like obviously your lowlights as well. I love to complain with y'all. And I guess some predictions for how the more mathematical distribution is going to be different. I'm very curious to see what your predictions are for that. But yes, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night or whatever it might be, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.